across social media, I didn't want to mention a name, is where is Governor or former Governor Yahaya Bello? Why is he on the run? The white lion, as it's popularly called, seems not to be acting as a lion after all, because lions hardly run away from confrontation. As we speak, the search for the missing former embattled governor is on. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has declared him wanted for offenses relating to economic and financial crimes to the tune of 80.2 billion naira. After, of course, a couple of days, he was helped to escape from the Federal Capital Territory by the current governor of the state, Governor Ododo, who, of course, has sworn allegiance to former Governor Yahaya Bello.
The presidency has advised the former Governor Yahaya Bello to engage the services of brilliant lawyers instead of engaging in a hide-and-seek game. The Nigerian Immigration Service, NIS, has placed the immediate past Governor Yahaya Bello on its watch list. The NIS called for Bello's arrest at any point of exit or entry into the country by security agencies. Now, this means that even if he decides to disguise himself, like a certain governor remember from way back, he must be found out. In other words, the lion must be caged. Joining us this morning to look at this developing story is Dr. Katch Ononuju, Public Affairs Analyst. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
And we also have Adeniyi Kunnu, Journalist and Policy Analyst. Thank you very much for joining us as well.
Thank you for having me this morning. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll start with you. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Mr. Ononuju. Talk to us about this situation. We started a conversation yesterday on the show. The current governor of the state, Usman Ododo, actually helping the past governor to escape. And now the EFCC has put out a statement to the effect saying that he must be arrested. And of course, he has to stand trial for crimes, surrounding the fraud, I think 80 billion naira. So talk to us about what exactly this tells us about our system. What is it that makes it easy for them to be able to steal money like this? I mean, he's innocent until proven guilty, so let's put that out there. But what message is this passing, this whole scenario?
Well, it's an issue of a baby. The baby in this case is Yahaya Bello. He was over-pampered in the way he became the governor in a very unusual form. He had a deputy that was put together with the man who died, and Yahaya Bello was thrown up as the second during the primaries. Yahaya Bello assumed the governorship of Edo State in very circumstantial ways, and Yahaya Bello continued to stay there. I didn't even mind about the law. He was residing more in Abuja than he was staying in Lokoja to be a governor. He still managed, in very controversial circumstances, to impose a successor on the state in an election in which votes from only Okene seemed to not trounce votes from all over the state. Allow proper conduct of the election petitions to hold, Yahaya Bello would not allow that. Go away from government house, Yahaya Bello would not leave government house. He stayed stuck in government house and became the first person in Nigeria's history to create an office for himself inside the government house where he lived. And that's why you see when attempts are made to arrest him, the governor comes in and they say, as a guest of the governor, you can't make an arrest inside the governor's premises. Yahaya Bello has gone. Now the authorities have managed to raise charges against Yahaya Bello. Yahaya Bello is refusing, forgetting that the days when he was pampered like a baby under Buhari, based on the stories he told Buhari, and even attempting to marry Buhari's daughter, to which Aisha, Buhari's wife, refused. Now, Yahaya Bello is back to his old nemesis, Tinubu, and his other friend, Mr. Falake, that was dispossessed of the governorship of Kogi State. So, Yahaya Bello is afraid to leave Kogi State. He's afraid to answer any questions from the EFCC. Yahaya Bello knows very well that they've come for him. Yahaya Bello also knows that the tribunal cases about Kogi State, for which he is being accused of being the meddlesome persons, they need to bring him in to remove him from meddling with the cases in Kogi State. Yahaya Bello now cannot go anywhere because the immigration services have declared him wanted. The police yesterday withdrew all police aids to Yahaya Bello, and of course, a court of competent jurisdiction has asked the EFCC to go get him, since he has refused to bring himself in as he has been legally asked to do. So this is just a morning on a long creation day as we grapple with Yahaya Bello's own problems.
All right, Mr. Kunnu, thanks for joining us again. Let's bring you in to get your thoughts on what's playing out here. We saw, drama like this with Rochas Okorocha, if you remember, a while ago, where he was, his house was also broken into by the EFCC. But that eventually turned out to be nothing. He still didn't get charged or serve any jail term or anything. So, what from your view is playing out here? Is this politics, or is the EFCC, really taking action against the governor they have strong evidence against?
Well, if the witch actually made a noise last night and the baby died this morning, it's obvious what caused the death of the baby. I feel very bad because whatever happens as it surrounds a governor is something that actually gets on the global stage. And it's rather sad to have a former governor who just left office allow himself to be drawn into this kind of messy situation. And it has made it even more difficult for him now to get any kind of soft landing from the EFCC, having made it pretty difficult for them to actually be able to have a conversation with him. When the EFCC alleges that you could not account for over 80 billion, that's according to what we have from what the EFCC put in the public domain from February 2016. And you have another one from, I think that 2021 to the tune of over 500,000 US dollars with the account numbers put in public domain. Then I think that Yahaya Bello is in for lots of things that he can actually handle. So right now, it is expected of him, wherever he is, to just make an appearance with a lawyer. Even if he has to remain in EFCC custody for a number of days, he's got to do it. But at the same time, it is important to restate the definition of immunity as far as we are concerned. Mr. Katch Ononuju said something. He said Yahaya Bello is a spoiled person who has enjoyed privileges. We know the circumstances that surrounded his eventual emergence as the candidate of the APC. We know what actually surrounded him and the kind of support he had from the wife of the former president of the country, Muhammadu Buhari. We know all of the things that surrounded him. But at the same time, according to what we have, he appealed and actually appeared to actually endear himself to the people because of his demography. He's just 48. But at this moment, we're talking about a case of money laundering. And don't forget, it's not the only one that the EFCC wants to talk to. Justice Nwite was, of course, expecting them in his courts to be able to actually answer certain questions. And only Wednesday, they got a warrant of arrest against him, according to what the EFCC also puts in public domain. So you'd have expected him to also understand that certain things must be attended to. If, for instance, the EFCC raises any issue against you, the primary thing that you have to do first is this. You present yourself with your lawyer by your side. Your lawyer can ensure that you are not remanded in custody, and your lawyer can also ensure that anytime the EFCC requests that you show. But don't also forget that Yahaya Bello would have actually made an appearance before now. It was his continued absence that warranted the EFCC going to get a warrant of arrest for him to appear willy-nilly. And I think that this is where the EFCC must also understand that there are ways it must approach getting these people into office. If you ask me, for instance, I would have preferred that they remove the immunity clause, because recently during the night assembly, the lawmakers almost went through certain paperwork that will allow them to have immunity as well. So everybody seems to want immunity amongst them. so that they can actually avoid coming to answer questions that borders on corruption and certain illicit practices. And that is not how to occupy public office. When public offices are occupied in trust, you'd expect, having understood your terms of reference, to ensure that the things you need to do, you do, so that we don't have this kind of scenario.
All right, Mr.
This is another bad smear upon Nigeria, according to what the international body will be considering. This should not be happening at all. Don't also forget that there was an issue with the elections that actually brought Yahaya Bello to power for the second term.
All right,
there were issues.
Kindly hold on.
Yes, please.
Yeah. All right, I just want to follow on from I mean, you did talk about the issues at the elections that kindly brought him into power. I mean, we remember that the former First Lady begged the people of Kogi State to forgive him for his sins and that he's young and they should forgive him for the sins he made in the first term. We also saw Nasir El-Rufai apologize on behalf of Yahaya Bello. Now, I want to bring Mr. Ononuju in and ask, is this a time when the president is expected to maybe make a statement concerning this? I'm asking because we see in every issue, even issues that that maybe are not as widely publicized as this, we've seen them call on the president to sort of intervene. So is this a time maybe we're expecting a strong statement from the president to ensure, and as in to understand what side of the divide he is on? And to maybe his statement, I mean, the question is, do you expect a statement from the president, or what body language are you expecting from this?
Yes, the president has reacted yesterday. The president has instructed Yahaya Bello to find a lawyer to defend himself instead of trying to play this hide and seek with the EFCC. The president has also told the immigration authorities to declare Mr. Yahaya Bello as a wanted person. He is right now, as I'm talking to you, blocked from traveling out of this country. He is already on the immigration watch list. The DSS has also been given all powers to track Yahaya Bello. His telephones have been tracked to wherever it is being kept as a way to globally position and catch him. The police have also withdrawn all Mr. Yahaya Bello's aides as a way for him to know that he is now a marked man, not just by the EFCC, but by the government of Nigeria. The president has done well yesterday to give those instructions, and it is well accepted. So Yahaya Bello now knows that he is not just being wanted by the EFCC, he is now being wanted by the Nigerian state, and we welcome that. That tells you that the Tinubu presidency has a way. If you check what has happened with those who have been tormenting us for the past 8 years in regards to security problems and the local ethnic cleansings, and the way the president went against them in Lapia and also calling it Shegumi. So it is now Yahaya Bello's turn. This actually tells you that we have come to the end of the Buhari presidency and all the protections that it brought to those like Yahaya Bello, who was like an infant terrible under the Buhari days. He killed, remember? He said he did election with ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. That means he could shoot his way into election result, and nothing happened under Buhari. So we are now seeing the end of Yahaya Bello's ways. And I believe that Nigerians should be very happy at the place where we are right now. As far as I'm concerned, Yahaya Bello's times have come to an end.
Mr. Ononuju, you say that.
It's so simple.
Mr. Ononuju, you say that this is the end of the Buhari administration, and as you know, Yahaya Bello too has now come under fire. Are we going to see this sort of replicated across board, not just with Yahaya Bello, because you know that he's not the only governor that has been accused of corruption. There are several other governors, and there are several other governors who have questions to answer. Some have even said that the immediate past president has a number of questions to answer. So do you see this being spread across board?
You have to understand there are actions of this government that actually shows you that we have come to the end of the Buhari administration. There are actions, you can say, that are speaking much louder than words. What I'm trying to tell you right now is the actions of the Tinubu administration seems to bring it home to Yahaya Bello that the Buhari era is over. Just the same way it came to the militia leaders who were committing ethnic cleansings after they were arrested in Latvia by the army, and also the way the army had now been attacking those who killed Nigerians. The way it happened for 8 years and nothing happened. So that's what I'm telling you. Through actions of the current administration, we are now beginning to see the end of the excesses that were tolerated under the Buhari administration. The Bello's excesses are now being questioned, and the government has done something by formally telling the immigration department to declare Yahaya Bello a personnel that is now on the national watch list. It has also told the police to withdraw all of the Yahaya Bello's security personnel. That sends a message from the. Then it has now asked the EFCC to go and take it, and also directly advise Yahaya Bello to hire a lawyer and submit himself to the authorities instead of running away.
All right, Mr. Ononuju.
Yahaya Bello knows very well that these are not his friends. Faleke is not his friend, he's at the villa. Tinubu is not his friend, he's at the villa. The earlier Yahaya Bello gives himself up to the authorities, the better for all this drama to enter to stage 2. I don't see him being able to escape this. I believe that we have come to the end of the Buhari administration through the actions.
All right. Mr. Kunnu, I'm going to bring you back in, and once again, that's why I asked initially, if this is politics or if this is the EFCC actually being the EFCC and doing what is expected of them, Mr. Ononuju, has said it, that the Buhari administration's time is over, which means that, it depends on what political or your political leanings, and that will determine whether the EFCC will go after you or not. And so the umbrella that protected them before is has been taken away. That's why. Again, we have had this dance happen many times with no results. So what are your expectations? If Yahaya Bello shows up today and presents himself to the EFCC or goes to court, what are your expectations on how this would, play out in the next couple of weeks?
Well, I have to say that Yahaya Bello may not have any soft landing any longer. You talked about if this is politics or if the EFCC is doing its job. If you look at the context with regards to the issues raised, obviously the EFCC is doing its job. But you ask a very important question regarding if at all this is politics. It is politics. Because don't forget, the person that was in contention for the position or for the party candidacy of the APC when Yahaya Bello was actually supported by the presidency was actually Mr. Faleke. Yes. Mr. Faleke, who is a lawmaker, is a member of the House of Reps at the moment. Mr. Faleke obviously has had an issue. I think Mr. Faleke is now a senator, so I beg your pardon if I mix that side up. But I know that he's still a serving legislator as I speak. Do not forget here that Faleke was the person who was supposed to take over, but there were issues that happened, and it involved the wife of the former president. So within that context, we'll say that politics is also playing out. Because if you look at the issues raised against the Kano State former governor, Adeniyi, and the fact that he's been suspended, obviously, by the ward, even if they had to go to court to actually, overturn that decision, it's obvious that when you're close to the corridors of power or you are close to the veranda of power, you'll likely get some levels of protection. So it is very obvious now that Mr. Yahaya Bello has been exposed, and whatever we might have as favors or soft landing from the presidency cannot be there. Don't forget also that when Yahaya Bello was favored against the anointed candidate of the current president of the country, because Faleke has served as one of the helmsperson of the new local council development area in Lagos State before he moved to Abuja and became a lawmaker before he attempted even becoming the governor. So right now, it appears to be payback time. And one of the things that I've also found over time in politics, that politics itself will always dance in a certain direction where the favors are. Right now, there seems to be no favor coming in the direction of the president of Yahaya Bello, and it's getting it hard and difficult at the moment. So If you're talking politics,
but that shouldn't be comforting, because I know this is not particular to Nigeria, but it shouldn't be comforting that we agree that the reason Yahaya Bello is being freely targeted now, at least has EFCC and every other going at him now, is because he no longer has the backing of those who are currently in office. That shouldn't comfort anybody. That really should let us know that there's still a problem.
You've raised a very important issue. If you look at what happened with Hillary Clinton using private emails to send messages while in government house, there were 2 other Americans not close to the corridors of power who did the same. They did not send as much emails as Hillary Clinton did. They went to jail. Hillary Clinton was the one, according to records, whose action resulted in the death of an ambassador in Libya.
Yes. She
has not gone to jail because she's close to the corridors of power. If you look at the current president of the US, Joe Biden, if what his son did and certain issues raised against the son were to have come from an ordinary citizen, that person would have gone to jail. But if you look at Donald Trump, as much as the issues raised against him were valid, perhaps because Donald Trump, whilst not in office, appears not to be close to certain people with power, Donald Trump will likely have to lose the majority of his assets, if not go to jail. Do not forget that even Donald Trump, at some point, kept having his name removed from certain state ballots.
Yeah.
When you are close to the corridors of power, it is incontrovertible that certain levels of favor will come your way. It's not comforting. That is why we have to look at all angles so that we can have a robust conversation. I have said it, that within the context of the EFCC, as an anti-graft agency, it is doing its job. But within the level of the other conversation of politics, Yahaya Bello is simply paying in part for the issues that happened before. Excuse me, please. Let us not be novices in this issue. Something that made the person of the former president, Muhammadu Buhari's wife, Aisha, to have said, the people they see around them now were strangers. They were not the ones that worked for them. It tells you that politics is also part of everything. And let me say this, the school of hard knocks, where politics itself is completely different from the school of everyday life where you expect civility and orderliness. Because the world over, politics has its own ways. The social context is always there. Cultural context is always there. Those that can do what people have described as the God work is also there. So you have a combination. So politics is a potpourri. Right now, I'm saying here that because Yahaya Bello has fallen out of favor, amongst many other factors of lack of humility, inclusive of the fact that he's so far away from those who are there. Mr. Ononuju mentioned how distant he is. What has he done that Umaru Ganduje has not done? Umaru Ganduje, we have the videos of him chucking dollars in his pocket. The EFCC has not gone for him. We have lots of issues raised against him, even by the leadership of the NNPP as we speak. Nothing has been done against him to the extent that he was suspended by his party at the wall. So when you do a comparative analysis of the issues that we have in public domain against Ganduje, it is enough for the EFCC to take the same level or the same kind of force to get him arrested. That is where politics is.
Mr. Kunnu.
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's now, I think the final question from me would be, how exactly will this impact the sitting governor of the state, Usman Ododo? How does this impact his administration going forward? And I did ask this question earlier, and I'll pose it to you again. Do you think that this is a situation where, after his immunity has expired, when he's done with office, that this is something that the EFCC would bring up against him in the court of law? Mr. Ononuju.
Yes. Yes. This all issues about Yahaya Bello has a lot to do with the current governor of the state. There were things Yahaya Bello did that actually brought this governor to be that are still being contested as I'm speaking to you right now at the tribunal. And it is known that Yahaya Bello has also been a very strong person that has impacted the tribunal hearings and the course of justice. So, secondly, his stay in the government house has also undermined the smooth transition of power from him to the current government. If Yahaya Bello is removed, the governor will have peace. If Yahaya Bello is kept somewhere that is very quiet, the tribunal will have peace, and they would no more have and suffer the current intrusions and disturbances by Yahaya Bello, who is free and playing his white lion games to undermine that tribunal. So it has a lot of things to do. There are a lot of freedoms to be gained by both the governor and also the tribunal should Yahaya Bello be brought in by the EFCC. And that's the important part where I think Faleke and those who are with him at the villa are playing out. If they are able to remove Yahaya Bello from sustaining his intrusive harassment of the tribunal, that might allow the tribunal to have an easy way. Secondly, if they're also able to remove Yahaya Bello from the government house in Kogi, that could also allow the governor to feel free to govern without every decision having been vetted by Yahaya Bello. I believe Yahaya Bello coming to EFCC will do a lot to help the state and also help the cause of justice at the electoral tribunal.
We'll see how things turn out. You know, it's a very interesting, couple of weeks in Nigeria. We'd like to also follow up on the Ganduje case. Nasser El-Rufai also has, a bit of fire on him at this point. Of course, time will tell how they'll turn out. Adeniyi Kunnu, I beg your pardon. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Mr. Katch Ononuju, also thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Look forward to speaking with you both again.